I consider Buddha as one of the most modern person
Eu considero,
that India produced. Well, there's that, but then, there's also the human beings we have to think about. We just can't help. We always follow a system. We end up following a system, or we follow or get inspired and idolize a person. This is what human beings do. We get inspired by someone who says, "Don't follow me." He or she gets more follower. That's how human realm works. And sometimes it's a really very good marketing strategy. So this is something that you need to make a note. Then, for our context that we are going to discuss tonight, the guru that we are loosely using, the word guru that we are loosely using these days, especially within the Tibetan tradition, this concept is an exclusive Tantra or the Vajrayana Buddhist thing. I mean, of course, in the other sort of lineage or the teachings, such as the Śrāvakayāna and the Mahāyāna path, they of course do have the master, teacher, abbot, preceptor, so on and so forth. But what we are talking loosely these days, more or less we are talking about Tantric Guru. In the Śrāvakayāna, there is a Buddha, the teacher, the Dharma, the path, and the Sangha, the community. And if you belong to an ordained member of the, spiritual, path dweller, then the one who gets to sit higher than you is somebody who got ordination before you, even if it is a moment earlier. So if you go to places like Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, you will not really hear this, guru-student relationship and all these things that the Tibetans are talking about. But as I said, there's always a, head monk or a head nun or the abbot of the monastery who will always have the sort of the weight. But there's no such thing as if you don't see this abbot as Buddha, or if you, if you have impure thoughts and actions towards this person, then you will have grave consequences. They don't have as how it is stated in the Vajrayana. And this path is very, very good, very clear, very, it's very rational, it's very clear and very, I don't know whether I can use the word democratic. Often I think places like America or England, they will get a lot of benefit from this path of Śrāvakayāna. Authority, no authorities, stuff like this. It's good. It's really good. Then, it's quite similar, Mahāyāna, also Mahāyāna masters, the relationship between Mahāyāna master and the Mahāyāna student is not similar to the Tantric master and the Tantric guru and the student. Although, I have to say, in many known popular Mahāyāna sutras, Buddha have stated that in the future, if there is somebody who teaches you shunyata, tathagata garva, you must treat him or her as Buddha. Now, in the Vajrayana, the guru become a very big deal. But not just guru. The student, the Vajrayana student is also a very big deal. I think we talk a lot about guru devotion towards the guru. But I think we don't talk enough about devotion towards the student from the guru. That is equally important. On the Śrāvakayāna level, because the Śrāvakayāna practitioners aim, the main aim is the liberation for oneself. In other words, the responsibility of others' liberation is not on the top list. So the attitude is a bit like this. I have given you the path for liberation. I can't wipe away your suffering. I can't also sort of cut a piece of my liberation and give it to you. I can only show you the path. You do it by yourself. That's the kind of the attitude. And a Śrāvakayāna practitioner, let's say a teacher who is only a Śrāvakayāna practitioner, his or her attitude towards others is because he or she is someone who has taken refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, not to harm others. That's the primary. Don't harm others. But also in the Śrāvakayāna Sutras and the Shastras, there's also mention about how a Śrāvakayāna abbots or abbess, how they should view their student as a sons and daughters. Very important this is. Now, in the Mahāyāna, on the top of what I have just said regarding the Śrāvakayāna, not harming the others, if you are a Mahāyāna master, then you not only not harm others, you have to help others. And when we talk about help others, we are talking about facilitating the other person so that he or she can achieve enlightenment. A Mahāyāna master must look at his or her student as those who have Tathagata Garbha, Buddha nature. Really important. Of course, the students, not only just the students, all sentient beings have the Buddha nature. And that kind of attitude the master must have. Not only the Mahāyāna master should see the students as children, the Mahāyāna master must also see have this attitude of, like a doctor, not neglecting the patient. Now, the Vajrayana. I think we talk quite a lot about how we have to have a pure perception towards the Guru. But it is important that you know that the Guru must also have a pure perception towards the student. To begin with, the Tantric path is a path that practices pure perceptions to everything. If there is one Tantra that says that the Guru is the only pure being, the rest are rubbish, then this is not a Tantric path. So a Tantric master actually has so much more responsibility. Of course not to harm others, on top of not harming others, helping the others, and not just helping, but actually having a pure perception towards the student. This is very difficult. Generally, in the Mahāyāna Sutras and the Shastras, we talk about two fields of merit. In other words, two fields where through your interaction, you accumulate merit. Of course, the Buddhas, that's, no need to mention that. Prostrations, offering the devotion, offering all kinds of offerings, venerations. through that you accumulate merit. And equally important to the Buddha field, the field of the Buddha, the field of sentient being, equally important and equally powerful so that you can accumulate merit. That is sentient being. Now I think up to here, fairly easy to understand. Now, things get a little complicated. If the Tantric master is someone who has achieved, we call it bhumi, which is like basically you have crossed. You don't have to. You will not go back to samsara. You understand? You may have not achieved the full enlightenment, but you will not go back to samsara, or you will not go back to samsara because of power of emotion and karma and all of that. You know, one can still go to samsara out of your will, through your compassion and all of this. If the guru has not achieved that bhumi, that state, then guru is still a subject to karma, karmic consequences. Oh, you know, the guru may be very compassionate, very responsible, and guru is of course much more informed about the path. Guru has the skill, but guru hasn't reached that state. Then guru is still a samsaric being. Now, these kind of gurus, for their own good, they have to really be careful, because this is almost like a prisoner trying to help another prisoner to, escape. But of course, the prisoner A probably has been there for a long term. So prisoner A knows a little bit more about the prisoner B. And, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of prisoners A kind who may not necessarily do this for himself. He may just want prisoner B, prisoner C, D, E, for them to get out of the prison. That is possible. Now, remember I was telling you, things gets a little bit murky, a little bit blurry, is how do we know he or she is not a sentient being, not an ignorant being? And not only that, the Tantric teaching says you are not supposed to think that he is an ordinary sentient being. You are supposed to think he or she is the Vajradhara himself. That whatever he or she is doing that is not making sense is actually just your own projection. There things get blurry. This is where a proper hearing, contemplation is encouraged. Nowhere in the Tantric text it mentions without analysis of the guru and the teaching one should just embark on the path. Nowhere. That is not possible. It's actually very interesting. Okay, let's go back to the Śrāvakayāna. Let's say a person, a man wants to become a monk, and he goes to an abbot. The abbot will ask several questions. Test, kind of. And very interesting. He will ask, are you a human? It's a very important question. Like, let's say the person wants to become a monk, because only a human can become a monk. A cat cannot become a monk. Dog cannot become a monk. Gods can't become a monk. Nagas cannot become a monk. Are you a human? They will ask this. And then other questions include things like, do you have two organs? Or are you the type who doesn't have an organ? Very important questions. Because if you don't have a dick, you can't become a monk. It's ironic. It's very interesting. Ironically, it is the dick that is putting him into trouble. That's why he wants to become a monk, right? So if they don't have a dick, what's the point of becoming a monk? So the same thing in the Vajrayana, if it is properly, you see, this is why I was talking about haphazard situation also has brought a lot of trouble. You go to something like, I don't know, in Los Angeles you go, let's say. And then you go to one of those sort of hippie coffee shop. And then there's a big poster, there's so-and-so Lama is giving so-and-so Tantric initiations. They don't even know what that is mainly. And then they go. Many times it's not really explained. And anyway, you can't really explain these things within 1 hour. So you go to these sort of initiations, and then after the initiation, suddenly somebody says, okay, now you have become so-and-so student. You have to now do whatever he or she says. So now you are in trouble. It's a bit like you go to this crowd, you go to a wedding, and then suddenly you have found you are the one who got married. If only you pay some attention. The Tantra, I was giving you the example of in the Śrāvakayāna, the monks, people who want to become a monk, they go through all this, what do you call it, interview, so to speak. The Tantric initiation is far more examination and interviews, far, far more. Even the most standard Abhisheka has at least 3 to 6 warnings. Only after that, one gets initiated. And it's kind of interesting, in many ways, the spiritual path of all kinds is declining. It's becoming very materialistic. The gurus has to be really, really careful also to choose the student. Without, as much as the student need to analyze the guru must also analyze the student. Not analyzing the student and giving the tantric teaching is like basically jumping from the cliff or drinking poison. At the least, a guru must have this attitude. If you are about to kiss somebody, that's a big deal. You understand? That's a really big deal. This is going to lead to trouble if you don't know how to handle this. Once you have taken the student, the guru has a full responsibility of the student. Yes, as much as the student has the responsibility to have the pure perception towards the guru also has the responsibility to make student learn how to have the pure perception. So this is difficult. But things get much more challenging because the guru also has to constantly pull the rug out of students' feet. Just as the student is about to be a little bit comfortable with a certain zone, guru has to dismantle it. And this makes things very difficult. Not only for the tantric master, for the tantric guru, student is like a child. In fact, the tantric text says, the tantric master's attitude towards the student should be more extreme than a mother who has only one child and this child is not well, not healthy. Now, I'm talking from one angle, the angle of the benefit of the student, angle of the student's point of view. There's another angle why the guru has to be so careful. Especially, remember, if the guru is not reached the bhumi, the first bhumi. In other words, guru himself or herself is a sentient being. In other words, this person is still a subject of karma, karmic consequences, and so on and so forth. Now, this gets so kind of complicated again. As the student must try to offer service, offerings, time, whatever, to the guru in order to accumulate merit, in order to really actualize the wisdom, so on and so forth. That is students' duty on the practice, not just duty. Duty is maybe not the right word. It's their practice. If the guru is an ordinary sentient being, okay, he's a very well versed, fairly compassionate, knowledgeable, has the unbroken lineage, all of this, basically not really a phony, we are not talking about the phony gurus. There's no point of talking about that. We are talking about actually, not a bad guru, okay, but a sentient being. Every single service and everything that he or she receives, such as a bow from a student, is a karmic debt. Because you are a sentient being. One of my guru, whom I received a lot of initiation, is this Rinpoche called Pevar Rinpoche. Pevar. He's really good. Many people respect him. He always says he's an ordinary human being. He always has a Guru Rinpoche picture or a Buddha picture. The moment people are beginning to prostrate, he will always go like this.
Na hora.
It's amazing. It's so compassionate. And not only that, it's a so humble gesture. But, a humble gesture is not the thing. It's a very profound teaching for me, who also is wearing this hat of a guru myself, and a sentient being, obviously. And remember the question, how do you know whether you have reached the bhumi or not? Only you yourself knows. Like me, I know for sure I have not reached this bhumi. And it doesn't require any kind of a rocket science. Just don't feed me dinner, lunch, breakfast for about 2 days, and then it will show. I become grumpy, I become this, I become that. It's very easy to find out. Of course, my students, they have the job. If I get grumpy, my students, their job is, he's just pretending. That's their job. They accumulate merit thinking this is good for them. I personally have to go through my karmic consequences. But I'm quite clever too. Sometimes I pray that at the least I'm benefiting them as an object to exercise their pure perception. Through this, may I also accumulate merit. You understand? So, yes, the karmic debt and the karmic consequences is it's a responsibility that the gurus have to take. And then there are several other angles that are really important also. As a guru, if I kill, destroy the seed of inspiration towards the Buddha Dharma of one person, now, this is, at the best, delaying, postponing millions of sentient beings' karmic connection to the Buddha Dharma through this person. You understand what I'm saying? So let's say let's say I actually destroy, inspiration of one human being, my student, let's say. This person that I just destroyed his inspiration is actually connected to 1 million other sentient beings who he could have benefited if he become, established. But I just destroyed that. And this you find in the story of Marpa and Milarepa. Every time Milarepa is about to give up, almost like giving up, Marpa again try to sort of lure him back, so to speak. And in fact, at one point, I think Marpa's wife secretly wanted to send Milarepa to somewhere, but Marpa knew this, and then Marpa stopped. Because Marpa knew very well Milarepa is going to have Takpopa as his student. Gampopa. Marpa already know this man who he is teaching will have a student called Gampopa, and this Gampopa is going to just take over a lot. And sure enough, Milarepa had the student called Gampopa, and the Gampopa had a student called Karmapa, and this Karmapa, from the remotest village in Bhutan all the way to Chinese emperor, he introduced the Buddha Dharma. But here we are talking about a little bit different, because Marpa was not a sentient, ordinary, ignorant being. He knew what he was doing. So, okay, but now, this is something that we need to know, which is, this is a time where okay. So the complication is this: if you are not a realized being, you don't know who is another realized being. And oftentimes our decisions, as a student, our decisions, whether we make it, whether we choose somebody as a teacher or whether we don't choose somebody as a teacher, equally gets wrong or equally gets right. So for a student, you still wish to be enlightened. You don't have the omniscience. You don't know who is a realized being or not. So the best thing you can do is hearing and contemplation. Okay, so that's the student's point of view. Student's side. Now, from the guru's side, you are not a realized being. Okay, you are very devoted to the Buddha Dharma. You have received teachings yourself. That's important. You have a guru lineage. You know a little bit of Dharma.
Talvez você
Maybe not that good, but you are devoted to the Dharma. You are devoted to your own guru, and somehow people seem to flocking towards you, and you try to sort of shoo them away, but because of some strange karmic connection, they keep on coming back to you, and they keep on trusting you, and for some strange reason, they keep on finding some sort of a meaning to all your blabbering. Then the best thing you can do is pray to your guru and to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and get so paranoid about your own karmic debt and karmic consequences, and get so paranoid about, if you fall from a cliff, your body is not tied up with your student, so that students also fall. So then try to have no intention to get material gain from these students for your personal benefit, not to take advantage of the student for your personal benefit, spiritually, financially, emotionally, I don't know, physically, because you yourself know that you are subject of a karma. And then on top of that, trying to have this pure perception, at the least, appreciating that the person who is coming towards you is coming there for the enlightenment, and trying to, and with that in mind, guide and facilitate and help the student with this kind of, motivation. That is so important. So in other words, a Vajrayana master, especially those who are not enlightened, and only you know yourself whether you are enlightened or not. If you are not enlightened, but you have the job to teach and lead, 3 things that you need to do. You have to have utmost respect to your student as someone who wishes to be free from the suffering, as someone who wants the liberation, or at the least as a human being, as a sentient being, you have to have that respect. That's one. The second is you have to have a compassion. As a sentient being, you have to have a compassion towards your student. He or she is an ignorant being. Therefore, you have to have a compassion. He or she is a subject to time and aggregates and emotions. Your students are bound by karma, emotions, aggregates. Thinking these things, you have to have a compassion. That's 2, second. Third, you have to have a pure perception. Under no way you should see your student as lowly, being who you can abuse. On the most fundamental level, the students have the Buddha nature. And then don't forget, you yourself, as a guru, as a guru but not enlightened yet, you are a practitioner. As a practitioner of Tantra, students are also part of the mandala. In other words, they are also devas, dakas, dakinis. And also, you never know. Among your students, they are actually realized beings. This is the interesting part. You, as a teacher, you are not enlightened, but actually the students are enlightened. One or two among them. That's possible. That's very scary. For those gurus who are not enlightened, this is very scary. The enlightened beings, they do all kinds of things. They are found everywhere. Among the hunters, among the prostitutes, as a king, as a queen, as a student, they are everywhere. There's a very beautiful story about, Jigme Lingpa has this disciple called Jigme Jalvi Nyugu. Jigme Jalvi Nyugu. That's a disciple of Jigme Lingpa. And when Jalvi Nyugu was giving Ngondo teaching, at one point he said, among my gathering here, there are Vidyadharas, meaning, realized being. Anyway, Paltru Rinpoche was there. Have you ever heard of this guy called Paltru Rinpoche who wrote the words of My Perfect Teacher? He was there. And then Paltru Rinpoche said, really looking everywhere. Who is Jalvi Nyugu talking about? Really trying to search. Years later, Paltru Rinpoche, when he went to Dzongsar monastery, there he found out that actually Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo was among these disciples, receiving the Longchen Yingting Ngondo teaching. And then Paltar Rinpoche said, that son of Dilgo, he was there. Dilgopo, meaning son of Dilgo. Khyentse Wangpo's family name is Dilgo. So, for a teachers like myself, who have not reached Bhumi, but who has, we don't know yet whether it's a good karma or a bad karma, but who landed up with a job of teaching. So for someone like me, I think the best way is trying to reduce the karma and the karmic debt of yourself and the student. Collaboration. Through the collaboration between the student and the teacher, you try to diminish. Not creating more karmic connection. Not more karmic debt.
No.
That's really important. But I'm going to let you go with one more confusion. It's entirely possible that a teacher like me, not enlightened, totally ignorant sentient being, who has a student, that student try his or her best practicing according to the Tantrayana, and he or she can achieve Vidyadhara state way before the teacher like me. From the worldly point of view, how embarrassing. I'm sorry. But from a dharmic point of view, not embarrassing. Because so-called my student who have now got enlightened, he will never see me as a not enlightened. He will never be, he is not enlightened. I got enlightened. He will never think like that. Never. Because he's a realized being now. Pure perception altogether. He or she will still thank me. Of course, I go through my own, delusion. That's different. So, it's because of this, the Buddha's statement, rely on teaching, not teacher, still applies also in the Vajrayana. Because in the Vajrayana, teacher is teaching. It's it's not just a person, it's a teaching itself. Teacher is a practice. For instance, what we talked this afternoon, the Guru Sadhana, as an insurance to all of this, you should pay attention to hearing and contemplation. Be critical, be analytical. But being critical and analytical is endless. Sooner or later, you have to jump a bit. Those who doesn't have a guru and those who wish to have, no need to go through the anxiety of searching the guru. Instead, you should pray to Shakyamuni Buddha. Guru will find you. The karmic, karmic connection is incredible. It's just this karma it's very troublesome, but it has a lot of reward. And how? If you have the right karma, as I said right at the beginning, a lot of people have come to Buddha Dharma through just piece of grass. This can happen. I can never outright, saying that some of those plants are not a bodhisattva manifestation. I can never say. Buddhas and bodhisattvas manifestation out of compassion is infinite. Not all of their manifestation have halo. So I hope this sort of discussion give you some food for thought. But I think it's important that you know that for those who are not enlightened gurus, they have more responsibility because they are supposed to be in the position who knows better. And people have come towards you, surrendered, took refuge, So that's, you have to, these gurus like ourselves, we have to think this. Okay, so that's about it for today.